Hello and welcome to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel for our weekend preview, where we're going to be looking at Cheltenham Trials Day, which is going to be a superb meeting, and we're also going to be looking at one of the big races at Doncaster at the weekend. There's plenty of decent action. Doncaster will be previewing the Sky Bet handicap chase there. As always, we're writers for the Racing Ahead magazine. Check them out in the description. The magazine for this month should be out around about now, so do go check that one out. And there will be an official advert for our Cheltenham Festival preview coming on the show next week, and that'll all be revealed. Plenty of stuff. Our guests will be announced. The giveaways, we've got loads of these socks to give away on the night. Everyone wants a pair of them, and we'll announce sort of sponsors and everyone who's helping us with the preview on that night. And thanks so much for everyone who's got in touch so far to assist us with the preview. It's been a massive help, and we're looking forward to hosting that, bringing that to you guys on the 6th of March. But away from the festival, let's get to Trials Day for the festival. Jack, you're going to be there on Saturday. I bet you're looking forward to it.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, we haven't got the runners that we kind of like to see in terms of quantity, but it's a quality-looking card. It's very competitive, especially that opening, that Triumph trial, the second race on the card. So it'll be interesting to see how we get on and what we think.
Yeah, interesting to see if we can find you guys a few winners over the weekend. And we'll kick things off with the first race we're going to preview on the Saturday at Cheltenham, which is the 12:45. This is the JCB Triumph Trial Juvenile Hurdle. It's a Grade 2 over 2 miles. Pied Piper, the Gordon Elliott horse, is over 13-8 favourite. ICO is 2-1. We've then got Interne de Sivola is 9-2. Forever William is 8-1, and Moulin Clermont is 11-1. Silver Shade is 12-1 and 25-1, and Bigger the other two. Now I make this a race between the front two. Now, Jack, it's an interesting one because the Nichols horse last time looked very, very impressive, but we don't know where his ceiling is yet. Obviously, the horse he beat has since been easily beaten at Huntington, finishing 4th. I don't know what to make of this horse, but Pied Piper finished in what looked a really decent race, just beating Vauban. And I know that this horse has got a big reputation, the second, and I think it's currently sitting second in the Triumph market itself, with a lot of hype going towards this horse. And faced Pied Piper this day, and the thing is, the owners of this horse have got a potential chance of having, in my opinion, the 1-2 in what looks a weak Triumph at the moment, because they've got Phil Dor, and I know a lot of people are saying that Phil Dor needs a soft ground, but with the strength of the Triumph at the moment, I genuinely think that potentially this horse is just too good for the rest of them. But if I was them, Pied Piper should really be going in and winning this. I think he's the horse to be with here, and I wouldn't be shocked if they go down the Triumph route with this horse as well, or maybe keep him in Ireland and save him for something else. But I wouldn't be taking him down the Boodles route. I think he's going to be far too good for that. I do think Vauban is also a very good horse, and be interesting to see how he gets on at the Dublin Racing Festival. But for me, Jack, it's all about Pied Piper with Davy Russell on board. I know it's a short price favourite to kick off the preview, but I just think he's the likely winner in here.
Normal service resumed, eh? The short price favourites to open up. You love it. You love it, don't you? But yeah, it's definitely an intriguing competitive race. That's fair to say. But in terms of the Triumph, I don't think we're going to have too much of a market shake-up, as you said. I think Phil Dor's probably going to have the class to beat them regardless of the ground on the day. I wouldn't be surprised if he turns into one of the naps of the festival for quite a few people. But what's interesting for me is we have good to soft in places at the moment in ground, and I don't think that's going to play into Isio's hands whatsoever. If I'm being honest, I'd probably look to be laying him for a place. I think when you look at his French pedigree going through there, he kind of needs the give in the ground, whereas Pied Piper is intriguing because he's won 3 times in his career. All have been on heavy ground, which of course probably point to him not enjoying this ground, but he's got some really respectable flat form, finishing 3rd off about 90 for John Cosden in the past. So I don't think the ground's going to be too much of an issue for him. As you say, it was quite a polished performance the last day, beating Vauban, and I think at the last, I mean, the jump which he put in was much better than Vauban, and if Vauban did jump a lot better, I think that probably the result would have been the other way around. But regardless, for your first time for a racecourse debut, you couldn't ask for any more than that. But I think 11-8, 5-4 has also been quoted. I think it is a little bit short. Of course, the Irish Raider coming over with Davy Russell and Gordon Elliott, he definitely does have to be respected. I do think he's the one to beat. There's a couple which are intriguing there. I don't want to go anywhere near Isio. You've also got then Interne de Sivola, as you said, who won over course and distance last time out, making all. And if you look at the form of that race, it does look relatively all right. I mean, Yorksey has subsequently won by 21 lengths, and Gala has also gone and won by, I think, 4 lengths even money after that. So that looks like a respectable bit of form. The ground shouldn't be too much of an issue there. And 5-1 again looks at a fair enough price, but I think I'm going to take a chance on the Gary Moore trained Moulin Clermont. Now, I know you're going to hate me for this, but I was certain that he wanted heavy ground, and I still think he does want the softer conditions. Jamie Moore afterwards said he's probably going to clear up now with the softer conditions, but I can't get away from the time which he produced on that day. I think it was about 2.5 seconds slower than Constitution Hill was in the Tolworth, and if you compare that to previous years, that is a lot less than the average between the opening juvenile hurdle on the day and the Tolworth. And I think, considering how impressive Constitution Hill has been, I think at 11-1 about Moulin Clermont could be worth a small a small win play. And yes, the ground could go against him. Of course, his breeding suggests that he's probably going to be better on the heavy ground. But speaking to Gary Moore afterwards, he was absolutely shocked that he didn't win at Fontwell on good ground. Of course, when you look through his bare form, he should have clearly gone and won at Fontwell, and maybe he didn't like the ground. But Gary Moore was certain that it wasn't the ground, and that something just didn't go right on the day. He couldn't quite put his finger on it. And for me, although Pied Piper I think is the one to beat at 11-8, I would be kicking myself if Moulin Clermont went and ran a big race. So if he does go and finish second to Pied Piper, I'll be happy with that. But I'll be having a small win bet on Moulin Clermont at 11-1.
Wow, it's my job to tip up favourites on this show, but it's also my job to tip up Gary Moore horses. And Jack, together we've managed to do both. So, potentially a decent price, a double-figure price in the Triumph trial there for Jack with Moulin Clermont at 11-1. And for myself, it's not going to be probably a bet I'm going to have, but I do think the Pied Piper is certainly going to be the one to beat. Now let's go on to the first handicap that we're going to be previewing over the weekend. It's the 155 there at Cheltenham. It's the Paddy Power Cheltenham Countdown Podcast Handicap Chase. It's a grade 3 handicap over 2.5 miles. Magic Saint is your 4-1 favourite. Faraday is 9-2. Galahad Quest is 5-1. Cool Cody is 7-1. Whatmore is 15-2. Jackamar and Eden Dahu is 12-1, and then 14-1 bar those. A real interesting handicap here, Jack, an intriguing one over 2.5 miles. What's your thoughts here?
Yeah, it's a very intriguing race. I love these 2.5 mile handicap chases around Cheltenham. I think they're cracking, especially, Cool Cody's going to be turning up time and time again. I really wouldn't be surprised to see him run another big race. I know he wasn't as well travelling from the front in the New Year's Day handicap. It could have been the mark, obviously, off 147, but I think it's really the conditions. He does like dry conditions. They do suit him. Of course, he's a little bit eccentric in the way he jumps. We've been told that he jumps the way he does, and that is just the way you kind of have to train him. So, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how he goes. I think he can definitely be entitled to run another good race. If you look at the top of the market, Magic Saint, I think, has it all to do off top weight, and it does worry me how Farinet's only blip has come here recently. Of course, Venetia Williams has put Lucy Turner on board, claiming £7, which I think is a big bonus. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Farinet run a huge race, because I think if you look at Vienna Court, who won the New Year's Day handicap chase, looking at these progressive horses, younger horses, is kind of helping when it comes to these 2.5 mile handicaps. But I can't get away from Galahad Quest, and I'll be so surprised if he's not well handicapped of 132. I mean, if you look at this year, he's run a cracking race to finish on, staying on 5th in the Paddy Power Gold Cup. He was flying home that day. Of course, he was 4 lengths behind Protectorat, who's since hacked up in the many clouds, and then actually finished ahead of Simply the Bets, who reversed that form on New Year's Day. Now, of course, he fell at Aintree at the 9th fence. You can completely put a line through that form. That was off 134, and he's now off 132. He's £3 lower than he was in the Paddy Power Gold Cup, and I think he does have an all right chance. I'd like to see him drift a little bit. I think 5-1's a little bit short. If you can get 6-7-1 on the day, I think that's a more than fair enough each way price, and hopefully he is well handicapped of 132.
There you go, Galahad Quest for Jack there. I think you said it all there, really, Jack. I think Magic Saint has got it all to do off the top weight, and here it'll be a real decent performance if he can do it here. The horse I've always been a big fan of around Cheltenham is Cool Cody. He shows his all around the course. I think he'll probably run another decent race. But I'm actually with a horse here at 14-1 for the Twiston Davies yard, and that's Torn and Frayed at 14-1. Now, like Jack said earlier in the show, he mentioned that the ground at the moment is good soft in places, so it's likely probably to stay that way. Looking at the weather, I don't know whether we're expecting too much rain, but look, Torn and Frayed, the last day he was pulled up. Let's go to the time before that, where he was running at Cheltenham. He was beaten by My Drogo by 7 lengths, where he ran a decent race from the front that day. He then went to Haydock. Like I say, he was pulled up, but he was running on heavy ground there. You know what Haydock's fences are like. They're very stiff, and on heavy ground for a horse that doesn't seem to like that ground, the fences at Haydock are going to be no good at all. And just found it a bit too tough. And the horse has been dropped from a rating of 133 down to 131 after that time being pulled up at Haydock. And I just look at it and I think that potentially this horse is still progressive. So I think he's still got a lot more in the tank for the Skelton Yard. Like I say, finished behind my Drogo and then actually finished second to Favois at Ascot. The Skeltons seem to like to have the upper hand over this horse, and I hope they don't do the same here with Spirit of the Games, is the horse they've got entered here. But hopefully he can get ahead of the Skelton horse here. I'm hoping that he can go and win this, and I think he's a decent each-way bet, Torn and Frayed at 14-1. Let's go on to what will be considered as the big sort of graded action on the day, and we'll go to the 2:30 at Cheltenham. This is the Cotswold Chase, a Grade 2 over 3 mile, 1 furlong. Chantry House is your 10-11 favourite. Simply Bets 7-2. I Write is 4-1. Santini is at 10-1. Puerto Rico is at 66-1. It's going to be interesting the next two races because JP McManus has got two decent horses in here, and probably a lot of people on this JP McManus double. It wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know what to make of Chantry House, Jack, because we know this horse has won the Marsh last season. All being fortunate where Envilen unfortunately fell in that race, but he did look very good, and I think he did just find the King George just a little bit too tough. This is a hell of a lot easier. Do you think it's not a bet in my opinion, but do you think he's the one to beat?
Probably, but only marginally. I'd say he's less of a one to beat than the market suggests. I mean, he's currently odds on. I think he's probably not quite worthy of an odds on. I think 5-4, maybe 11-8 is more fair. Of course, he has more of the form in the book as a novice, but then, yes, he was very impressive, beating the big breakaway by whatever it was, 52 lengths this year, but he just travelled too bad to be true in the King George. I mean, he never jumped a twig, he couldn't jump, he couldn't travel, and I mean, he couldn't keep up with the gallop in the King George. It just looked like when Froden and Manila Indo went off hot up top, and I mean, to bounce back from that in this, yes, it is a much easier contest, but odds on, I haven't been able to warm to him, and I definitely wouldn't be backing him at odds on. And for me, I write, again, a worthy second favourite, but Simply the Bets is getting £4 from both of them, and I think he actually does have a banging chance here. I mean, if you have a look at his run in the New Year's Day handicap when he was second to Vienna Court, he put in a career best RPR of 162, and they pulled 10 lengths clear of third, and he was carrying £17 more than Vienna Court that day. So I do think that was a grade winning performance in itself. I mean, I don't think there's going to be too much pace on here, which is going to probably benefit him stepping up to this extended trip, and also the good ground I think is going to help him a lot. I think being in receipt of the £4 from the favourite and second favourite, if he puts in a similar performance to he did in the New Year's Day handicap chase, I can't see him not being banged there. I think he's on the up still, and hopefully he'll be able to stay the 3 miles with not too much pace on.
Yeah, I agree with you here. I mean, the bet that I've written down here is Simply the Bets without the favourite in here. Now, I only say that just due to the fact that I think Chantry House, it would not surprise me to see him bounce back. It really wouldn't. Like I say, something just wasn't right in that King George. I'm sure he's a better horse than what he was there, and we know it's a tough race, the King George, and he obviously found it a bit too tough that day. This is a lot easier, and like I say, I wouldn't surprise me to see him bounce back. But I do think, like Jack said, Simply the Bets the last day on Newsday. I thought he ran a really decent race, carrying the weight he did. It definitely was a graded performance. How much of a graded performance, I don't know. But I think he's definitely a decent bet, potentially without Chantry House in here. So I'm going to be the one that's going to go without the favourite. It sounds like Jack's going to go just straight up win here, and see if we can get Simply the Bets in. But I do think Simply the Bets is a decent horse, and obviously he has the form around Cheltenham winning at the festival as well. So we'll have to wait and see. Let's go on to the 3:05 then. This is the Cleeve Hurdle, a Grade 2 over 3 miles. Champ is your 8-15 favourite. McFabulous 4-1. Paisley Park 9-2. Liz Nagarovska is 25-1, and Dandy Mag is 50-1. Now, this might not be a race that we need to preview too long, but this is going to be very interesting because on Thursday we saw Classical Dream not run to the form we expected, and it's going to be very interesting to see what comes from that race and what Willie Mullins has to say about Classical Dream's performance. And we now see Champ as a 15-8 favourite for the Stayers Hurdle itself. I do see why we're seeing this horse potentially as a favourite. We know this horse has tons of ability. It's going to be very interesting to see how good he could be on Saturday. Paisley Park, if you watched the show earlier in the week, and thanks very much for all the support on the show with Tom Rain earlier in the week, it's been massive support. But I did mention Paisley Park, but the ground this weekend just isn't going to be in his favour. I wouldn't fancy him. I probably wouldn't fancy him in a small field either. McFabulous is a horse that a lot of people have been talking about over the last couple of weeks as a horse who could be a real live one for the Stayers Hurdle. I don't personally see it. I haven't really warmed to the horse at all. Liz Nagarovska, Jack joked about this horse the other day as well. I don't give this horse any chance. And Dandy Mag, just doesn't really have the form that some of these have, and it does all seem to revolve around Champ. No, he's not a better 8-15, but potentially we could see the Stayers Hurdle winner. The horse wins this by 10 plus lengths, and we suddenly see an 11-8 shot potentially for the Stayers Hurdle. Jack, is it fair comments around some of those horses there, and do you think Champ's probably going to be the winner here?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. It does completely revolve around him. Most of them got to bounce back or go on a revival mission to even get near to him. I mean, he travelled so nicely at Ascot under John Joe. I mean, John Joe gave him a perfect ride and he pulled clear in good style. Should he be 15-8 for the Stayers? Absolutely not. I think that's a ridiculously short price. Nicky Henderson has said multiple times how he was just waiting for him to blow up at Ascot, which is never really a satisfying thing to be hearing. And I think the way he's been mucked about hurdles, chasing back to hurdles, it doesn't fill me with any confidence whatsoever. I wouldn't be surprised if this year is the year where we have something come at a double figure price and win the Stayers like we have done in the past. And yeah, as you say, Lisnagar Oscar, I'd love to put him up. Likewise, Paisley Park, but they just have a lot to prove, don't they? I think if anything was going to put up a challenge to Champ, it was probably going to be McFabulous. I mean, stepping back up to 3 miles for the first time since finishing third in the long distance hurdle in November 2020. I mean, I was never really a fan of him over 2.5 miles. I thought he didn't really jump that well over the shorter trip, and hopefully this will kind of bring out some more improvement there, because he did look like a very promising novice a couple of years ago. It'd be nice to see him bounce back as well. But I mean, they all have Champ to beat. He's a lovable rogue. Who knows what's going on in his head? No one knows. He's absolutely mad, and hopefully he can go and do it. Will he be able to do it in the Stayers? I'm still quite sceptical.
Yeah, and Jack said he wouldn't be surprised to see a double figure selection go in the Stayers Hurdle potentially this year and see a shock, and that might be Paisley Park. So we'll have to wait and see it come the festival. But yeah, like Jack and I both say, look, Champ's not betting here. It's more of a watching contest here. Be intriguing to see how he gets on, but potentially we could see a Stayers Hurdle star rise, but we'll have to wait and see how he goes on Saturday. Let's go on to the final race we're going to preview at Cheltenham on Saturday. It's the 340. This is the Ballymore Novices Hurdle. A grade over 2 mile, 4 furlongs, and Balco Coast your 7-4 favourite, along with Hillcrest, both at 74. North Lodge is 6-1, a different kind 9-1, and then we've got Picana 12-1 and Harper's Brook 25-1. One of my better bets of the weekend comes in here, Jack, but I'll let you talk us through the race first of all.
Yeah, it's a very intriguing race, isn't it? The first thing I think to say is looking at the size of Hillcrest. He's absolutely massive, isn't he? I mean, he's definitely got a big future ahead of him, but I mean, he just oozed class at Cheltenham last time out, didn't he? I mean, over 2 mile 4. I think Iron Maximus did have a great chance stepping up in trip, but he put him to the sword quite decisively, and the pair pulled 11 lengths clear of Get a Tonic, who I thought had a great chance with an allowance as well. So, I mean, I do expect him to take all the beating, and I think he's a very fair price at the moment, but I do think there is one that is somewhat overlooked in the market, and that's a different kind for the red hot Donald McCain and Brian Hughes team. I mean, he's 5 from 5. He's on the hunt for a 6-timer. He's unbeaten over hurdles. His last 5 wins have been 42 by a cumulative 42 lengths. And I mean, of course, is a big step up in grade, but I mean, I'm definitely willing to invest at least something at 9-1 to see if he can handle this jump. I mean, it was his penultimate run that I was really impressed with. I mean, he turned over odds-on favourite Green Book and actually giving him £5 at Haydock, and I thought that was an almighty performance. I mean, I think Brian Hughes is absolutely, he's a stellar jockey. I mean, if there's one man you want on board at the moment, it's definitely him. I mean, he delivered him perfectly, and of course, since then, Green Book has gone and bolted up twice and then went off a warm favourite for the Lanzarote by being unseated and hampered by another horse. So, I mean, his chances were scuppered there to try and boost this form, but I think he's completely overlooked. I mean, he's 9-1, and yes, Hillcrest could go in and be the classy performer, but I think he's definitely overlooked a different kind at 9-1.
Okay, yeah, Hillcrest, like I just said, massive. He was about the size of me at Christmas, to be honest. He was he's just an absolute unit, and I'm looking forward to seeing that horse over a fence potentially in the near future. But I said one of my better bets of the weekend came in here, and I probably should have said it before I went to chat, because my bet in here is a different kind. I'm a massive fan of this horse. I think he's a lot of fun for the owners, clearly, with the 6-timer on the way potentially. And I know Jack's talked about the form with Green Book, and that's what I've got written down here. And beat the Green Book on actual heavy ground. And I don't actually think the horse likes heavy ground. I think the horse is going to be better suited to the ground at Cheltenham. You go back and look at the forms of the other wins, and he has been winning on good to soft. So I would probably think that the ground's going to be very suitable for this horse. It's a shame the first from his point to point hasn't actually come and done much in Ireland since. But I think this horse has obviously got a little bit more ability going forward, and he does look very classy. And I think potentially he could even be a decent win bet in here. at 9-1. I think that he's a fantastic price. And like Jack said, Brian Hughes is just the man to have at the moment. Always interesting when he heads to Cheltenham for these meetings on Saturday, rather than staying up north in somewhere like Doncaster. So he's obviously got something there that he's come for, and I potentially think this is going to be it. But a different kind seems a popular bet between myself and Jack in the 340 at Cheltenham. Let's get away from Cheltenham then. Well, hopefully we've ended the day there with a winner. We've got an excellent card at Doncaster. Jack, we're not going to preview the whole card there. A couple of decent grade 2s there, including a really good Mare's Hurdle. But we are going to look at the highlights on the card, which is the Sky Bet listed handicap chase. This is at 3:20. It's a 3-mile contest. Fusil Raffles is your 7-2 favourite. Cabden Nor is 6-1. DBC is 8-1. Cap Corps is 8-1. The Machine is 11-1. Midnight Shadow 12-1 and 14-1. Bar those. Now, Jack, if there's ever going to be a double price big winner from us, it's got to come on the last race we're going to be previewing. Is your horse at double figure prices, and is it going to win?
No, it's not a double figure price. I've tried to overcomplicate every race of the preview, and I thought, no, Jack, you're not going to overcomplicate this one. You like the favourite, stick with the favourite. First of all, DBC scares me like nothing more. An 11-year-old, 322 days off for the Skeltons, having a wind off. I mean, we saw it with in the Great Wood with West Cork. They know how to bring them back after a break, and I've seen there's money for them as well. So that scares me a lot, I think it's fair to say. But I mean, Fusil Raffles has just done everything right this term. I mean, he was by no means disgraced getting beaten by Brave Man's Game. Yes, Brave Man's Game did it very easily. He was giving him £12 that day to one of the best novice chasers in Britain and Ireland at the moment, at Newton Abbot. And then, of course, the Charlie Hall did fall into his hands when Shamblu was going to do that. I don't think that was his best performance whatsoever. And then I think he ran a great race in the Racing Post Gold Cup because he didn't jump a twig, and it was off a big weight as well. So I think if off £1 lower today, he does improve his jumping whatsoever, hopefully he'll be able to justify favouritism. And 5-1 is not the worst price in the world.
There you go, 5-1 selection.
I do apologise.
I know. And you're going to be even more sharp, but I'm going to put up a 33-1 shot in this race. Now, it's not often at the end of January that we're looking for good ground horses. We're often looking for the heavy ground, or we're probably looking at meetings that just aren't even going to go ahead because of the heavy going or snow. But look, we're going to have good ground by the looks of things at Doncaster at the moment. I don't know whether there's going to be any changes to that, but it's looking that way. And a horse that does stand out in here is another horse for the Twist and Davies team, and that's Rocco. The horse won the Badger Beers. That was off a rating of 134. The horse is rated now 137. Like I say, that day was on good ground, and the horse was prominent and travelled like an absolute dream. And one thing with this horse is he was hard to get past when hitting the front. He is a real stayer and can grind them into submission. The last day pulled up, and we had, I don't want to say it, but Sam Twist and Davies was on board that day. But Jordan Naylor, I think, gets along better with this horse. Won the Badger Beers aboard this horse, and it is going to be aboard on Saturday. I think the horse, like I say, is going to be up there with the pace, and I'm hoping that they go off a decent clip, and this horse will be staying there towards the end. But I think still off a rating of 137, he's still got something in the engine. I think that 33-1 is more than a fair price when you look at the ground at this moment in time. So if it does stay good or good soft in places, I think Rocco's got a really decent each way chance in the Sky Bet listed handicap chase. Now, let's give our naps and next best for the weekend. How should we do it this week? I'll give my next best first, then you give your next best. My next best will be a different kind. That will come in the 340 Ballymore Novice Hurdle, 9-1 shot for the Donald McCain team and Brian Hughes. Jack, what about yourself for your next best?
My next best is going to come in the 320 at Doncaster. It's going to be Fusil Raffles at 5-1.
There you go, 5-1 selection there for Jack. And my nap will be Torn and Frayed in the 155 at Cheltenham at 14-1 each way. I think it's a fantastic price. And probably the better of my two selections for the Twist and Davies at Yard. Jack, your nap of the week, and everyone can't wait to hear this.
My nap is going to be the 340 in the Ballymore Novice Hurdle. It's going to be a different kind as a win bet. I think he may be finishing second. I'll probably have a little bit on the forecast as well with Hillcrest, but I think he's just way too overlooked in the market. I can't see him going off anything bigger than 9-2, 5-1 on the day.
There we go. Different kind seems mine and Jack's popular section from the week, and with Jack napping it up and moving it up as my next best. So it's going to be interesting to see. That's going to be it for our weekend preview. We're going to be back next weekend where I believe we're going to be previewing the Dublin Racing Festival, where it actually all started for myself and Jack. Our first ever video was a preview of the Dublin Racing Festival. So not an emotional time, but look, we're going to be a year on from our first official video with you guys. So we're looking forward to bringing you that. Thanks so much for the recent support. We are just over 10 subscribers away from 1,000 on the channel, and it's going to be a huge moment when we hit that. It's going to be massive for myself and chat. Look, we started this last year, like I say, around this time last year, and the journey's been fantastic, and your guys' support has just really helped us push on and make more videos. So thanks very much for that. We'll be back with you next weekend. Keep subscribing, keep liking, and we will see you then. Thanks for watching.